Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. All right, so let's just go through my reading update real quick. Yep, we finished Harrow County, The Marvelous Team Up, Graz and I. Please go back and watch our channels to see the conclusion of Harrow County. That's all done. We also made an announcement, and I'm going to show you that what book we're going to do next for the Marvelous Team Up. Also, I finished it, Walter D. Edmonds, and this is BERT BEEN'S BARN. So this is what we're going to talk about today. But real quick, as you know, we've got one more week left in February, and my next book is Ronin. This is a Visions novel in the Star Wars universe. I can't wait to read this. I just love the cover of it, just to begin with. If you watch any of the Vision Star Wars series, this is taken from one of the videos in the first season, and I believe there's a second season now in this kind of Jedi Samurai type storyline. So I can't wait to start that. I'm going to start that tonight. And like I said, our next graphic novel in the Marvelous Team Up is Murder Falcon. Now, I made a plea out there to have other people join us in the Marvelous Team Up to read some graphic novels. If you've never done it before, or if you have done it, maybe haven't read comic books in a while, this is just something fun that we do. And I think I may have two, I'm not for sure, but I think I may have two other people that might come on board so far and read Murder Falcon with us and do some videos on that for the Marvelous Team Up. That'd be great. The more the merrier. Hey, and if you want to do it, just come. You can jump in, jump out. We're not, asking for some type of long commitment or anything like that. We just want everybody to have fun. It's just a fun thing to do. All right, let's start talking about BERT BEEN'S BARN. So, let's get the numbers out of the way. BERT BEEN'S BARN is written by Walter D. Edmonds. It was originally published on January 1st, 1975. Yeah, and my version has 270 pages. Now, we're going to start talking about this. Not a lot. It did have a 3.98 grade on Goodreads. I'm going to tell you, I gave it 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Just a great book. Now, this was a National Book Award winner. So, there you go. There you have it. But the one thing that's really cool about this book that I didn't know. So, let me preface this by saying I had never heard of this book before until Graz on the GKBC was talking about it as being one of his favorite books that he could remember reading. He read it again this past year, and until right at the end of the year, it was his most favorite read of the whole year. And I don't know, Graz is cool. Graz, I don't know, Graz, if you did this on purpose, but I had mentioned, I think, that I hadn't read it, and he was so enamored by it that he sent me a copy. So this was a gift from Graz and the GKBC. Thank you, guys. But I wonder if he did it on purpose, because Graz is one of those guys that pays attention to, like, the littlest details. He listens, he pays attention, he remembers, he notices. He even notices some of the goofy things I say, or the inside jokes I say, or the silliness that I use, sometimes being kind of, I don't know, a jerk about things, but I say it in a way that hopefully it isn't offensive, but he picks up on it. Because this darn book is like my hometown. This is where I grew up. Upstate New York. Now, I was born in Watertown, New York, and this takes place around Boonville. Boonville is not too far, maybe an hour drive from where I grew up in Watertown, but it mentions all these places. Every place that it mentions in this book, I'm really familiar with. Lowville, I used to, and all these places, Boonville, Lowville, Copenhagen, Krogan is right in that area. Krogan, the famous Krogan bologna. Lowville they talk about in here about a cheese factory. Lowville has one of the biggest craft factories there is. Shoot, all these places. I grew up playing baseball, Little League and beyond. Before that, football, hockey. I played tournaments in all these areas. Shoot, back in the day when I was playing hockey, a lot of our tournaments. Now in Watertown's a big city, a big town in upstate New York. One of the biggest in upstate New York. And we had an indoor hockey rink. But I grew up playing hockey outdoors, and I've even, some of these places, Boonville and like I said, Lowville, I played hockey tournaments in outdoor arenas where they just strung lights over it. I played one, was it in Star Lake? I played a tournament, outdoor ice rink in Star Lake. I think it was Star Lake. And it was minus 10 degrees the whole weekend. We played a weekend tournament there outdoors. It was freezing. Anyways, but that's why right off the bat, I love this book. I didn't even know it, Graz. It says upstate New York. And then this version of the book was published by Syracuse University Press. So I'm wearing my Syracuse Orangeman's hat here. I just loved it. Now, Walter D. Edmonds is kind of a famous author. I mean, of course, if you're writing a National Book Award, you are. But I didn't realize who he was. I didn't remember the name of this writer. And he did Drums Along the Mohawk, which I read in high school. So, absolutely, I should have recognized this guy. Winner of the 1975 National Book Award for Children's Literature. Yeah, it's a great book. Let me just go. I was so enamored by, it's just cool. It's cool when you read a book and it's talking about all these places or places you grew up or lived in. They talk about Black River, and I played baseball for St. Regis Paper Company. That was the sponsor of our baseball team when I was a kid. The Black River was... Geez, I mean, I probably couldn't throw a stone from where I grew up and hit the Black River, but I could get on my bike and be there in 5 minutes. It was really close. Black River is something else too. I mean, there's some nice areas, but there's some really nasty rapids back in the Depression. People, that got destitute financially would jump off the bridge in town and kill themselves in the Black River. The rapids are crazy. There's rapid river rides you can take. Shoot, when I was a kid, me and my buddy would ride down there on our bikes and fish. I don't know if I told this story before. We'd fish and we'd catch, bluegills and sunfish, little fish, perch, things like that. And there was this Asian restaurant. What was it called? Oriental Village was the name of the restaurant. It was down at the end of Thompson Street. Thompson Hill was right. I lived right at the bottom of Thompson Hill, and the Thompson Boulevard went around Thompson Hill, and at the end was the Oriental Village. Anyways, we would catch these fish, and we'd go to the back door and knock on the back door, and they would come to the back door, the cooks, and they'd give us like egg rolls and stuff for free in exchange for the fish. These little fish that we caught, they'd give us a couple egg rolls. That was fun. That was on the bottom of the hill. You could go up the hill to Copenhagen. I lived in Copenhagen for a while. My bands played in Lowville and Boonville and Copenhagen and all over the place. Yeah, what a place to grow up. Now, I didn't grow up when this book started. This book starts right around the turn of the century, right? They don't give an exact date, but early in the 1900s. It's really cool because in this book, in the town where they're living near Boonville, he works in Boonville, the kid, they're starting to install phone lines. And they talk about party lines. I'm old enough, when I grew up in Watertown, we had a party line. You pick up the phone, there could be somebody else on the phone. Or, I'd be talking to friends and somebody come on the phone, get off the phone, Tad, I need to use it. And it was, so, yeah, that's how old I am. Shoot, growing up, we had 3 TV stations. Well, we had ABC, NBC, CBS. We had a local PBS station on the TV. And if you could get one of your family members to stand up long enough and hold the rabbit ears or the antenna on the TV, we could even get like CKWS out of Canada. We could get, I could watch Hockey Night in Canada sometimes, in black and white, of course. But anyways, yeah, that's how old I am. But so this book starts off with this kid. His name's Tom Dolan, and he's 13 years old. And he wakes up. It's the end of summer, and it's about that time to go back to school. He wakes up and he decides, you know what? I'm not going to go to school anymore. I'm going to get me a job and help our family. So his family consists of his mother, Polly Ann, and his 2 younger sisters. The father is long gone. The father was useless and a drunk, and his grandfather was a useless. His whole family has been very, very poor their whole lives. He says, you know what? I'm not going to go to school anymore. I'm going to get a job. And he tells Polly Ann, his mom, and she said, like, okay, what are you going to do? Where are you going to work? And he had a couple ideas, but one of them was he was going to go down to the local grain mill and see if he could get a job there. And he does. He's 13 years old. He walks right in. He talks to the owner. Now, Polly Ann says, remind the owner that he used to hang with your grandpa when they were kids, and they used to go fishing and cause trouble and hang out and stuff. So the guy kind of knows who he is. The guy remembers his mom, Polly Ann, and pretty nicely he gives him a job making 25 cents a day. So yeah, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for Tom. What's he going to do with all this money? Well, he has this idea that he's going to somehow purchase this barn. So BERT Beeen'S Barn, is on a piece of property that is pretty much run down. Bert Breen has passed away. His wife is still, or the widow Breen is still living there, and she's very old. The house is caving in. Nobody has any money now, and he thinks that maybe, quite possibly, he could save up enough money at 25 cents a day, give half of it to his mother to help support the family, and save half of it, enough to where he could maybe purchase this barn. It's a beautiful big barn. They've got a little barn on their property, but it's not big enough. It's falling apart. He's got this idea that if I can change the fortunes of my family, I can even maybe possibly change the reputation of my family, because everybody knows this family from his father and grandfather as being just drunks and useless, lazy people that barely could scrimp to get by. His mother grew up having to pick berries and take them to the back doors of homes and knock on doors and try to sell the buckets of berries to people, in just dirty, torn clothing, hand-me-downs, things like that. You're getting the picture. Very depressed area to live in. Used to be really have a lot of farms, but the ground, after being farmed too hard, has kind of dried up, and people have moved away or passed away, and yeah, it's a really depressed area. So anyways, he thinks he can maybe purchase this barn and dismantle it and move it piece by piece to his property, where he can rebuild it, have a nicer barn, and start maybe getting some better cows, some milk cows, maybe start having the farm be a working farm and start making money for himself. He thinks he can work hard and he can do this. He gets his they've got a family friend named Bertie, and he gets Bertie to go with him to look at this barn. And Bertie actually was one of the people that helped build this barn when it was initially built for BERT Breen. So that's cool. Bertie knows everything. Bertie's a hard worker. He's an older man, kind of got a hunched shoulder and stuff, but he gets Bertie to go with him out there, and they go look at the barn, and they hear a noise and turn around, and Widow Breen is standing on her back porch with a shotgun pointed at him. What the hell are you doing on my property, kind of thing. But they go and talk to her. She remembers Bertie. She remembers Tom's mother, Polly Ann, and they go in and have tea, and she reads his tarot cards, and she tells him, you're going to be coming into some money. Not real soon, but in the near future, you're going to be coming into some money. And, that's kind of a foreboding thing. Where's he going to get this money? How soon is it going to be? He thinks it's just through hard work, working at the mill, which he does, and he scrimps and saves. Shoot, he's able to buy his mother a blouse and his sisters ribbons for their hair for Christmas, which is more than anything he's ever given them for a Christmas present, just through working at the mill. But there's another little twist to this. There's a rumor that BERT Breen actually was stowing away his money somewhere on the property, hoarding it and hiding it. Didn't trust the banks. Nobody trusts the banks. People still don't trust banks. Anyways, and there's this rumor that maybe there's treasure hidden on the property. Who knows? Maybe he'll find that too, as he's trying to acquire this barn. Well, goes on from there. Of course, Widow Breen's very old. She eventually passes away, and he thinks that he's talked to people around town, and he thinks that he might now be able to purchase this barn through tax lien, right? Everyone's dead. Nobody's claimed it after a certain amount of time. No kids or anything have claimed the property. The property might be able to go up for auction, and he might be able to purchase the barn for back taxes. He's been told it's probably not going to be that much, maybe $20, $30. He figures through saving, he might eventually be able to save up enough to buy this barn. Well, it's about a year later now, and he's made contact with a lawyer in town. The lawyer in town seems to be a nice guy, and he'll look out and see if it ever comes up for auction. And he gets called to the lawyer's office one day, and the lawyer says, you know what? Somebody bought it. And he's devastated. Tom's like, well, you said it was going to go up for auction, and I just have to pay the back taxes for it. And he says, yeah, well, nowadays you know how it is. Some rich guy offers the bank more than what it's worth, they're going to sell it to him. And that's what happened. A guy from the city, New York City, again, another, I think, lawyer, I can't remember. He buys the property. Well, the lawyer says, you know what, though? Let's find out who exactly this person is, and maybe you could just go buy the barn from him and tell him you'll just take it off the property for him. In the meantime, some ruffians, these three brothers, inhabit the widow's house, and they start tearing it apart because they've heard about this treasure. They start digging in the yard. They're looking for this hidden treasure, and they're nasty people. Eventually, we do find out who bought the property, and Tom goes to the guy, offers him money for the barn, and the guy agrees. He says, yeah, I'll sell it to you. He was going to offer him $100 for the barn. He had $50 saved up, because this has now been like 3 years. This is, you know, slow and steady wins the race. He's going to save up, and he's saved up this money. He's worked his ass off. He's got $50 saved, and he thinks he can, within the next year, save up another $50 quite possibly. And he wants to offer the guy $100 for the barn. The guy sees, kind of respects him, the young man, for coming and doing this, and says, you know what, I'll sell it to you for $75. But I need $50 down. Yep, Tom says, okay. He buys it. He gives him $50. That's what he had. And by the end of the year, he figures, I'll be able to save up $25 and pay it off. The guy says, okay, you can do that as long as you tear down the house too, and just, you know, take what boards you want from it, but, you know, put the rest down in the cellar and burn it. The house is falling apart because these, you know, these three brothers, these jerks, are in it and tearing it apart looking for this hidden treasure. So it's falling apart anyways. He says, okay, cool. And then it goes on from there. We meet all these people that Tom is meeting, and we're finding out that he's just a really good kid. He really wants to do well for his family. He thinks he can work hard and build a better life for his family. And that's what he works on doing. It's a great story. It's a great, you know, young YA story. And there is this intrigue with the treasure hunting. I'm not going to tell you what happens with it, if he finds a treasure, or what happens if these people, these three ruffians, have an issue with him. But it goes from there. Yeah, there's a huge part in here about him taking with the help of Bertie, taking the barn apart. And in the front of the barn, you see here, they explain a lot of the things. It really goes into him tearing this old barn apart right here. You see it. And transporting it to his house and then putting it back up. They go into that quite in depth. I think it's interesting. It's not boring in that way where, that might be boring. I did read some reviews where some younger people reading it, more recently thought it was really super boring, all that part. But I didn't think so. I really enjoyed it. And again, it's from where I grew up. I mean, I loved it. The snow, I miss the snow. He's got these old snowshoes on here. It's just a heartwarming story. Really well written. Got a little intrigue with the treasure in there. Got a little, nervousness with these ruffians, these bad guys. The relationships he has with his family and he builds with other people throughout the town. It's just a really good story. And even finally, in my advanced age, reading this, I don't know why I didn't read this in school. Like I said, Syracuse University Press, Syracuse, only an hour south of Watertown, where I grew up. I never heard of this, and I didn't even realize that Walter D. Edmonds wrote Drums on the Mohawk, which is another great story. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you have an inkling to read anything that's from upstate New York, it's an interesting read for that reason. It's an interesting read to see how people lived back in the early 1900s. Yeah, it was just, I enjoyed it. And thank you, Graz, for sending it to me. Again, I really loved it. Anyways, that's BERT BEEN'S BARN. Awesome book. Give it a try. As usual, if you found any entertaining value in my videos, please like, please subscribe, and write me comments. I love the comments. And until next time, peace out.